Right, hi YouTube guys. Charlie Tango 1 here. I had a request from a gentleman over in America. I can't think of his handle now. It was in relation to these little 8-hour stoves, or Optimus 8-hour stoves, if whatever you want to call them. I've explained how to roughly repair one, but I said I'd try and do a strip down of one. So here it is. I've got this one today, but there's just a few problems with it, and I've had to do it because it's come from Bulgaria. This version is the Russian version. Let's bring it into view. Which basically is comprised of a stainless steel tank. Well, I'm not sure if it's stainless steel. It may be a steel tank, but it's definitely electro-Nicholas plated, along with the old heat shield protecting. And what I found with this is it was leaking from the there we go, this point here. It was leaking from there, so I had to take it down, strip it down, which is what I've done. So I'm trying to get this in the right order so that it's quite easy to explain. Right, I've taken the heat sink off. I've undone the valve so it's not tight. I've checked that. It's got a good washer in there. Oh, wait a minute, we're not there, are we? In the filler cap, there's a good washer in there, rubber one. So I put a little bit of Vaseline on there. It does help. Makes it a little bit slippery. When I can get, hang on, let's get there. Where are we? Yeah, I think that's it. Get a little bit of Vaseline on there, and I did fire it up when I got it to check it to find out what I'd need or don't need to do. So first thing I've done was I took off the flame spreader. I've took that off. Bearing in mind, I've just had a word with the chap in Bulgaria on of various now it's in focus now. Various messages I sent him. Judging by the state of this flame spreader, according to him, this has never been used. So I basically called him a liar there. So I've asked for a refund or partial refund, and I've just received a final one from him saying that I think he's reimbursed all my money. So what I paid for it is nothing now really, and the postage was included. So there you go. He was saying that I told him it was leaking here. You quite clearly see that they put some thread sealer in there to try and stop it leaking. Basically all it was is it needed another rotation, because this thread, I'll try and bring it into focus, this thread, when I can find my hand, oh there we go, this thread, there we are, is a tapered thread. So it will self-tighten itself, and as you can see, it's never been used, has it? Look at the state of that. Look. So you know why people lie, I really don't know. But a word of warning: when you take this off of here, I think I better just move that camera back a bit. I think I'll come in too tight with it, haven't I? When you undo this from here, from the tank, don't turn this to take it off. I strongly suggest you've got a good fitting spanner fitted on there, frailing that upside down in the vise so that you don't chew up these ends. I didn't do these, they was already like it, so I knew they'd have problems, and it looks like they've welded it, soldered it or something. Anyway, they are secure, they don't leak. But get that in the vise and turn the tank to undo it, not this. Ooh. If you try to turn this off of the tank, this shaft here will bend. So bear that in mind. In the vise, upside down, and turn the tank. Right, that's done. Now the other thing was the jet. I took the jet off. That's okay, cleaned out. Check the needle. Now there is a needle jet cleaner in there. And what I found is if you unscrew this nut here, it's pointless really taking it out. Number 10 I believe it is. No, it's a number 11 spanner does this. Number 11 spanner will fit that fine. Crack that off. Take the spindle out, and on this particular one there is two washers, two brass washers, and which appears to look like a rubber seal in between them, sandwiched. So basically when you put it back in, it's washer, rubber seal, washer. What I've done is I screwed this up with the with this. I've screwed it in so it was done up, so it's closed. It's in the closed position, and then before putting the jet back on, the actual jet needle cleaner, I just touched it on the top. It's somewhere, comes in somewhere near flushing with the top. Just put your finger on the top, and I just crack this open so that the jet cleaner clicked onto the spline twice. Then I nipped it back up, put the jet back on. So to me that's just 2 clicks on that. You'll feel the 2 clicks when you turn this anti-clockwise. Once the 2 clicks are there, you can then tighten it back up. That way this needle should seal off. The idea is it seals on the inside of this. As I say, I found 2 clicks was sufficient to do that. Now, going back to the bodge it and leg it job, which is what I basically think this was all about. And the chap was adamant that, oh, this is it's never been used, blah blah blah. Now, you tell me if I'm wrong. Does that, or does it not, look like a crepe bandage, or a piece of crepe bandage? Because I think it does. Anyway, that times it was in there was sticking out like that, a pathetic little piece sticking out. That's got to go in a tank. It's got no absorption whatsoever, so it weren't absorbing the fluid up very well at all. Now, you might reckon what I've used, you might recognise them. Let's curl it up a bit, you might be able to see it then. Do you recognise one of these? It's not rope, it's, you know what the old-fashioned mums used to have, a mop. We used to call them a Dougal mop. Well, you just get hold of one of them and pull it out of the head. It'll just pull out, or you can cut it. And I've used 2 strands. I used 2 strands of this, and it had this brass gauze in there. I'm trying to make sure you get it all. The brass gauze was in this shaft. Was in the shaft. And that goes straight in there, and try to get it as close as you can to this point here, which I should do. Then we know where we're at. Turning it clockwise all the time, until you really feel that it's gone right in there, and you'll find it won't go anymore. I did use a little pricker. Yeah, it's in there. Oh, what I failed to tell you, there's a dear little bit of wire you can use, thin bit of wire. Oh, I don't know if that'll pick that up actually, will it? Yeah, a little bit of wire, and you need to have it roughly the length of this spindle. All right, and what you do is you just put a fold in it. I'm trying to think, I've got something here that overkill so that you can see what I'm on about. Well, or perhaps I can use a piece of rope. Imagine this is a piece of wire. You get a piece of wire, you put your wick through it, this is the wire, imagine, here's the wick, pull it over this way and then twist the wire like that. Just twist it 2 or 3 times, then fold the wick back over the wire, and then you can plug it through. I've used about two strands of that. You could go to 3 if you wanted, but bearing in mind you've got to get it in this come on, get in focus, where are you? You've got to get it poked up in there. If the wire gauze, the brass gauze isn't there, don't worry, because one of my other ones, in fact what the camera's sitting on, the other one, that's just got the wire, and it doesn't matter if it does protrude a little bit out of there. At least the wire makes it easy to thread the wick in there. That's the idea of it, and it holds the wick, because if anything they burn right at the very end of the wick. Right, that's that in there. So now, and what is in, let's get these pieces up here. I'm sure I could do a better video than this really. What's in this shaft here is, as I said, you've got a washer, and on the other one you've got a washer. This is a leather one, and then another washer. Now I punched these out myself, and I just put a bit of oil on them to keep them supple, so they swell a little bit. But when you put it in, when you fit them in here, just put a bit of Vaseline on it. Good old Vaseline does a marvellous job. Right, that's that. So once you've done that, I assume you can see what I'm doing. We then poke our wick into the tank, like so. Turn it round. Now this is where you've got to be careful. Don't turn this against the tank. Grip this on number 11. And turn the tank. Okay, turn the tank to the and I'll check that to see how far out that one, look. Blind man will be glad to see that. Yep, I reckon that's about right. Yep, that'll do that one nicely. Put that over there, don't need that. As I say, you can clean these up thoroughly if you want. which I should do at a later date. But basically what I'm trying to do is to get this. Yes, it's not been used, has it? Now these are the Russian copies, these are, because they're, as I say, bright electroless nickel plated, these tanks, and they're on mild steel, they're not on brass, whereas the one that the camera's sitting on is a brass one, which is your Optimus stoves. And the other thing I found, that this thread that I'm putting on now, on this here, is a different size to the English Optimus stove. So you may be lucky and get one go on there, you may not. I'm going to polish all this lot up later on, but I just want to get this up and running. I was going to polish it all up, but it's going to take too long. I can strip this down, like, take this off, give that a polish, but good stuff. That is good stuff. Servo Autosol, been around for years. Cleans up alloy and this nickel, whatever. And this is another one I use. You could use this in that valve in here, the washer in this one. You could smear that on there if you like. It's high melting point grease, so it shouldn't melt. At least it'll keep the washer supple. That's the idea of it, keep the washer supple, so when you do screw it in, it shuts off the gas flow to the jet. You can screw this in, you can screw that in tight, you'll feel it go to its stop. That way you know that you've squashed the leather between the two washers. That's that all done. I'll put the heat sink on, because if I'm going to fire it up, we don't want the heat going on the... Should we do it this way? Could do, couldn't we? This is the tin, never been used. Look, this has never been used. Look at that, never been used, mate. So just proves that you persevere. And I think the bloke got fed up in here and then thought, oh for God's sake, just give him his money back. So, but you know, I mean, that's no idea. No, I'm not tight, but I just don't like being lied to. When someone says, oh yeah, you know, it's brand, it's never been used. I thought, yeah, it's never been used by you, maybe, but it has been used. But you're not saying that. You're saying it's never been used, full stop. Right, let's put a bit of this Coleman's in. You can use lead-free petrol if you want, but the only difference is lead-free petrol has still got additives in it, byproducts, obviously to keep your car running clean and everything else. What have I done there? Put too much in now, haven't I? That was silly, wasn't it? Getting carried away there. Hang on a minute. Let's get some of that out. Can't have that going in there. Yeah, it's better. Now I think what I better do, stop laughing. Put that over there, out of the way. Put that on there. Get this tissue. Wipe that up. I don't want to set the shed alight. I've got too much leather in here to do that. I think the vaporizer is pretty quick anyway, this stuff, isn't it? I'll turn that over. I'm not going to risk that getting burnt. might do it that way, shall I? Can we see it? No, I can't see nothing that way, can we? Well, you get the general idea, don't you? Where am I? Down here? Yeah, let's go up this way a bit. So let's see what we're doing. In shot of the camera. As I've said before, I do rab it on a bit, but you know, please bear with me. I'm not used to doing the videos. I just ramble on and jog along. Let's put that in there, and I always open it up. Where are we? And then shut it off. Close position that way. All the way the other way, all that does is puts the needle jet cleaner up. That's all it does. But you see a lot of people, they turn it anti-clockwise, which is to the left, to turn it off. It doesn't turn it off. All it does is it rams that needle cleaner up into the jet. So you turn it clockwise to the right, which shuts it off. Let's put this away because I need this little cup. I've got another little cup, but now I don't use this Coleman's to this is the first time I've used it actually, but I don't use it to prime it because to me it's oiling. What it does, it makes a mess all in here, and I'd say when I clean all this up, it really look nice and clean, and all this, but the brass should shine a bit. Like I use my old Parkside Dremel on it, like, you know, use one of these on it. That cleans it up with little buffers on it. I mean, does a lovely little job. But really it's a bit pointless doing the flame, polishing up the flame spreader, because as soon as that's fired up it's going to look like that again. So you're wasting the shaft here, the spindle and the wick housing, that stays pretty clean for quite some time, so you ain't got to keep cleaning that. But certainly, you know, I mean, you start spilling this oil and that's all in the tin, it just goes everywhere and it just makes everything black, because apparently the Russians and the Americans, they use gasoline and benzine, whatever you call it, but it's got oil in it, it's got additives, and you see it's all black and sooty. Well, you got that going, you're inhaling all that, whereas this has got all them additives taken out of it, this Coleman. It's just purely a clean burning fuel. So let's put some mess in here, shall we? There we go. Chuck a bit of that in the old pan. Now what I do is, and I tell other people to do it, let it burn out and then fill it again and do it again. And a lot of people struggling there, but you don't have to struggle really. You really don't, because what you do, you've got some, just wiggle a little stick or anything like that, light it in there and just poke it in there. It's a lot easier than stuffing your hand in there and burning all the hairs off your hand at the same time. So yeah, that's going. I don't know if to turn the light off or not. You might be able to see. Shall we? Which one's this do? That one. Is that? It might show us, mightn't it? Well, I'll turn that one back on and turn that one off. That looks like We can see the flame there, can't we? It might be alright. Now sometimes, you know, that flame may be enough, you think, but it's got to heat up that whole system, and it does slightly heat the tank. You see people heating up all this tank and everything, putting a lighter on the tank. Well, what on earth? They're so impatient. As soon as they've lit that primer, they're fiddling around with the tap here trying to get. I'm thinking, what are you doing? All it's going to do is it's just going to flare up because it's not vaporising. Because that's what that does. Is the idea of this is it vaporises the fuel in there. That's just gone out now. So let's top that, shall we? Yeah, to me it just vapour. Once it's vaporised, then it can get heat in the tank. It warms up this spindle down. Oh, I can't see now, can you? It warms up this spindle here. Let's get my fingers right. It warms up that spindle there, which is where your wick is. That way it causes it to vaporise the fuel in the tank. It draws it through, vaporising it, and then what I do is just before this is about to go out, don't worry if it does go out, because you can just get your lighter and just touch the top of it and away she goes. But I'll wait for that just to burn down the point of going out, which it's going to do. Missed it. Plenty of time. Well, she's going a bit, isn't she? I only crack it a little way just to get the flame started, but for some reason that's not burning very even. But you let it burn for a little while like that, it warms it up even more, which vaporises the fluid better, and then crack it open a little bit more and we might get somewhere. But we're not. So I'm going to turn that off and